Well folks, it's time for another angling adventure. It has just gone 10 past 8 in the morning. The temperature is 14.5 degrees. Weather forecast is drizzle, light rain and cloudy. But I got that from the BBC, so they could be lying through their teeth. Either way, it's time for another angling adventure. Yay! Update. My usual tranquil, nice, smooth, easy drive to Erne has been disturbed today. No, it hasn't been disturbed by farmers or lorry drivers or even other motorists. You know, it's not the road users. Today I'm being held up by cycle wankers, cycling 5 abreast in the middle of the road, thinking this is a fucking jolly chortle. I'm holding up someone from needing to get to where they need to get to. I'm wearing spandex. I look like a prick. That's the problem with summertime, folks. The road is no longer nice and peaceful. You get these, well, spandex clad turds on the road cycling, and they have no manners. And this is where I'm going to pitch to you right now my own idea for a car adaptation, something you could add to your car that would instantly improve the value of your car. I don't care if you're driving a 2009 piece of shit beat up VW caddy van like I do. This straight away would make your car or your van desirable. I'm talking about bonnet mounted paintball cannons. Yes folks, we need bonnet mounted paintball cannons. I'm thinking one sort of similar to the GOW that's on the front of the A10 Warthog. You know, something that fires that sort of caliber of paintball. You could be doing your thing, driving along the road peacefully. Oh no, my journey's been held up by some wanker on a bike. Well, let me fix his wagon. And the problem's just away. And it would be an educational tool as well. Very educational. Because the spandex clad turd on a bike would then have to figure, does this motorist that's coming in behind me have a bonnet mounted cannon? Therefore I'm either going to have to cycle like the blazes and get out of his way, or I'm going to pull into the side of the road, let him drive past, and then I'll continue my day unmolested by a paintball cannon. I'm telling you folks, we're on to a winner here. I'm going to actually see if I can get it patent pended. We all need one on our cars. Well folks, we're heading back to the river that I've fished a couple of times before. You've been in videos, you've seen the river fishing. The location number 1 wasn't any good. No good. So we'll head back to the River Erne and we'll give it a go there. The guys in the tackle shop have also said that the fish have come back on a wee bit. That little couple of days of bad weather has kind of helped. So yeah, everything seems to be quite good. It's crazy, it's only like 10 past 9 in the morning and Erne is rammed busy. Erne is crazy busy. It's not so much like locals or Northern Irish people. A lot of tourists this time of year. And I wonder where they get their driving licenses from. Is it something that maybe they've won in like a box of cornflakes? But to the river. You all know this place. I fished here before. The wind is now going that way. Normally the wind goes that way, but it's all good. Let's go and see if the wheelie bin is still in here from where the scumbags threw it. And yes, the wheelie bin is still here. You can see where the scumbags threw it in. And what else you can see, right about there, some rather silly person has lost their boat and it has drifted across from the marina. Oops. I like fishing here. You can park up and you're straight onto the river. The catches I know haven't been the best, but there's always today. So let me get this set up and I'll see you in a minute. Well folks, another day. It's actually not so bad. I've only been here about an hour and I've got eight perch. I'm getting a lot of perch. Not seen any roach or hybrids or anything like that there, but seen plenty of perch. My plan of attack is casting a lot of these. These are the bait up feeders from Preston. These are the ones designed that you can actually chuck them with your feeder rod, not a spod rod. So I'm just putting a lot of crumb into it, into the area where I'm fishing. They weigh 40 grams. Ideally those ones there, I would love them to weigh about 60, so that they get to the bottom a bit faster. They take a lot of time to get to the bottom, but I think that's because there's they're very buoyant, because you put the ground bait in and there's like usually a space in the middle. that usually that space in the middle is filled with maggots or pellets or whatever. So just sitting down, getting into it. You're going to see later on someone's had a boo-boo, and it's not me. Someone has forgot to tie their boat down, and it has drifted across from the marina to the this side of the river. It's going to be fun when they come back and try to get their boat. Silly boat people. But apart from that, the action is already infinitely better than what it was the last time I fished here. I'm actually catching fish fairly regular and fairly constant. I'm hoping by putting a lot of particles and a lot of crumb on the bottom that it brings in roach and hybrids. We will see. We will see. Apart from that, weather-wise, it's overcast, it's cloudy, there's periodic patches of drizzle, and it's about, well, according to the phone, it's 18.5 degrees, so it's not the coldest of days, but it's not burning the fucking skin off me like it's been for the last 2 sessions. Which means I might have to give up my title. I can no longer claim to be king of the sunburnt morons. Running through the gear, standard feeder fishing, you know, fishing with my 12'8", 60-gram Dutch master feeder. I'm not chucking it a million miles, I'm not even chucking it 50 meters like I was the last time. I'm just chucking into the middle of the channel. Okay, there we go. I'm just chucking into the middle of the channel. Trying a bit of a different mix groundbait wise. I'm trying some Sonubaits Black Bream. Black Bream with some crumb to thicken it out. I only bought a kilo of it, then I put about a kilo of black crumb through it. Another perch. Those maggots are still good to go. So it's going well so far. It's going well. I'll get this cast out and I'll chat to you later. The wind's getting up a little bit. It's blowing right into my face, which isn't a problem. Doesn't really make a difference to me. I'm still getting perch pretty constant. I don't think I'll be making any sort of over the 100-pound weights of perch anytime soon. But I'm enjoying myself and I'm catching fish. I want to say thank you to everybody that's liked, subscribed, left comments, even you trolls. I got a comment the other day going, you know, if you weren't such a fat bastard, you know, watching your stuff would be easier. It's like, okay. What do you say to that? You know? There's only a few people in this world that I give a fuck about what they think of me, and random troll on the internet. Might surprise you, but doesn't make the list. I've booked in to fish in September time on a private loch just across the border here with my good friend Cecil. We might have another fella coming called Gareth, another good guy. But this place is it's a small loch that it's a day ticket fishery. well, you give the guy an extra €10 and the guy will go down and pre-bid it for you. It holds bream to, you know, 6 and 7 pound. It holds tench to around about the same sort of size. So I've booked in to fish that in September time. It will be possibly the last of this type of fishing you'll see from me from this year. I usually switch from mid-September onwards. I usually switch, leaving the coarse fishing stuff behind and going to pike fishing mode. I really am looking forward to this season's pike fishing. I have a lot of little plans, a lot of little ideas, things that I want to try out, locations I want to fish. There's also a few guys that haven't really fished for pike before, so they'll be coming to join me a couple of days this year. So we'll see how they get on. I might even persuade MSW to come pike fishing this year. My other half, she likes fishing, she likes getting out. But when she's first seen the mouth inside the mouth of a pike, she wasn't wanting to hold it, touch it, unhook it, or go near it. So this winter's mission for me is to get my wife catching a pike and holding it up for a photograph. Fortune favours the bold, eh? Everybody likes worms. These are some of the best baits you can get for fishing in the Erne. But you don't just chuck them in like this. You have to give them the old chop first of all. You don't chop them till they're mince, you know. You chop them up nice and fine, and they tend to get attracted by lots of small perch. So you chop them like that there, and then you feed that in your feeder. You could feed that with like a worm on the hook. You know, that's a great meal for any sort of fish. So wouldn't be fishing on the River Erne if it didn't mean catching an eel. Actually, it wasn't a bad eel. It was actually quite a good eel, but I decided that it wanted to have my my worm and maggot cocktail. Fishing's still been pretty good. It's just perch, one roach, but it's fishing. I don't know about you guys, but see, when I get the chance to go fishing, it's like there's a bit of a pressure switch has been lit off just a little bit, and I can go fishing and I can kind of not have to deal with all the bullshit. You know, it's like whereas before it's like I have this quite a lot. I mean this. I guess it's just what happens, you know, when you know, in the forces everyone knew their lane. Everyone knew their job. Okay, we had some people that were completely
useless and couldn't do their job, but on the most part people knew where they fitted in and come to civilian life, and it's not so easy. When I left the forces in the year 2012, it had reached, I had done 12 years in the military, 12 years in the Royal Air Force. I wasn't bored. Bored wouldn't be the right word. It was time for me to come out. It was time for something different. I always said that when there was more bad times than good times, I would leave. And we had approached that point where there was more negative than positive, shall we say. So I left. I come back to Northern Ireland because this is where I'm from. I think that when I left initially, when I was initially doing resettlement to leave, there was a number of companies in England who were very keen on recruiting ex-forces guys for work basically. There was an office in a place called Coventry in England that was looking for administrators that had security clearance and that were that understood that work had to be done, and in a sensitive sort of way. It was government work again. It was back to working with the government instead of being in the military this time. It was something to do with the prison service. I didn't mind that. I wouldn't have minded that at all, but at the time I figured that I want to come home to Northern Ireland. There was a relationship there. Obviously it's where I'm from. At that time MSW wasn't my wife. She was actually a single girl, you know. And this was I was coming home and I had a support network around me, which is this fancy term for, you know, you had friends and everything there. So I came home. Whilst you're in the forces, you get told in your resettlement that because you've been in the forces, your time in the barracks or whatever counts towards getting points to get a council house, somewhere to live basically. This wasn't so much the case in Northern Ireland. In fact, it wasn't the case at all in Northern Ireland. I got told that I had no more rights to a house than someone that was just off the plane. Didn't matter that I'd served the country, didn't matter anything like that at all. You know, you had no rights. I would actually have had more rights if I was a degenerate alcoholic or a drug addict, because I would have been classed as somebody they had to look after. But that, when I handed in my application for like housing, first occasion they lost it, even though it was sent to them special delivery that they had to sign for it. On the second occasion it was physically taken into their office and handed to them. And everything when I came out, it just seemed to be a struggle, a real fight, a battle. Getting a house was a battle. I got told there was no places in the area that I would like to live. Now, this is Northern Ireland. I'm an Armed Forces veteran. I just can't live anywhere. You have to take care of your own security because you're living in a place where bad things happen. You know, contrary to popular belief, this place still has terrorists that want to do bad things to people like me just because of the job I was in. They offered me a property in Oma, where I am now, but the property was in an area that would be classed as an IRA area, not somewhere that I would feel safe living. So I said no, I don't want to live there. And I can remember the little girl behind the counter, you know, kind of laughing at me, going, you know, well, that's kind of all you're getting. I wasn't happy with this. I ended up getting a local politician involved. You know, they may as well, you know, beat the drum for me. 20 minutes after a phone call was made from a politician in Northern Ireland to someone in charge of County Tyrone and Fermanagh, I had an offer of 5 properties smack in the middle of where I asked to live. So it went from no, you're getting nothing, to you're getting something but it's in the middle of the IRA areas, to yeah, no worries, here it is, you just had to ask for it. You know, that sort of thing. It shouldn't have been that difficult to come home and have that in front of you. You know, you have enough to deal with. The other fight, you know, there was many battles that you have when you leave. They call it the transition to civilian life. My transition to civilian life wasn't as smooth as I would have wished. Little things like getting a GP. I was fortunate enough to have copies of my medical records, my medical history. That included some really detailed CD-ROMs with pictures and x-rays and scans of the injuries that I have. And so going to the doctor and saying, here's the injuries, here's where the scans were done, you know, this is what's wrong with me, can you give me a GP? And then a week later going back for like a checkup, and I find that they've lost my military medical records that I give them. Straight away that was a big thing for me, because that's a security risk for me. So I kind of lost my temper. I kind of got a little bit stressed. Eventually the documents were found. They had been misplaced in a drawer somewhere. But for a couple of days it was tough. It was hard. You know, there was loads of little things happening. Like, I have a very specific injury in my spine. Over time the vertebrae are going to start to fuse together. This is going to reduce mobility. So I have all that to look forward to. So I don't know why the NHS do this, but they seem to like to tinker. You know, currently I'm on tramadol and I'm on, you know, naproxen and all that sort of other stuff. Well, they would come to a point where they say, oh well, we're going to change this and give you this instead of it. Sort of like a human guinea pig thing. And it knocks the shit out of you, it really does. One of these visits to the GP in Oma, I got prescribed anti-epilepsy medications. I'm not epileptic. It turned out it was a boo-boo from the GP that I was seeing at the time. And it was only spotted by the pharmacist, who I know, I've known him a long time. You know, I'd known him before I went off to the military. He was a good guy. And he was like, he said to me, you know, Scobes, I didn't know you were epileptic. I said, I'm not. He goes, well, you don't want to take these then. I understand mistakes happen. I understand that life isn't perfect. But it just seemed to me when I left the forces for a couple of years there was a lot of mistakes happening. Life became very difficult. You know, and in between all this happening, you know, I was unemployed at this point. So I was trying to find work. Now, loads of agency and 0 hours contract stuff. 0 hours contract work is horrible. You know, you turn up to work and you be told, oh, I don't need you, go home. And it's like, well, magic, but that doesn't pay the fucking rent. It took from 2012 to 2015 before I got a permanent position in a place of work. You know, that time was from when I left to when I got employed permanently. I was doing 0 hours contract work, agency work, security work. I was doing any sort of work that I could get. And then there was small periods in between where I was signing on the benefits on the dole. Fuck me, that was soul destroying. I don't know how people can sit on the dole and use it as a lifestyle choice. For me, it would have pushed me to it would have pushed you into a very dark place mentally. Okay, if somebody's medically unfit, they're disabled, and they can't work, then they deserve all the help that we can give them. The government should be giving them more help, and the people that have to look after them, well, they should be getting more help as well. But if you're just a lazy prick, no. One of the things I did see was guys pulling up to sign on, jumping out of like a painter and decorator van, wearing painter's overalls, going in, signing on, coming back out and going away again. People doing the double. So bold as brass, didn't care. Right in front of your eyes. And I was there going, you know, this is crazy, this is insane. One of the periods when I was unemployed, I signed up for it was like voluntary work to keep busy, because I'd rather do something than do nothing. And it was voluntary work that was going to be used to top up an NVQ qualifications. So I was like, okay, fair enough. The voluntary work was in the local council's leisure centre. So away I went. This was all set up by the jobs people, the dole people. I got set up, I went away, did this here and done the qualifications, and I can remember going into the job centre because I got a rather official letter saying I have to come in on a certain date at a certain time. Then I was interviewed under caution. There was a complaint that I was doing the double made. No shit. I kid you not. There was a complaint that I was working in the leisure centre. Now, at this point I laughed. The man that had come down from Coleraine to interview me asked, "What's so funny?" I said, "Yeah, I'm working in the leisure centre. It's voluntary, I don't get paid for it." And it was the job centre that sent me there. So the job centre knows all this. And the man turned around and goes, "It doesn't matter whether they know it, they still have to investigate it." And I thought, so I'm going to leave here and the same person could make the same complaint, and I would have to come down from Coleraine to investigate it. And he's like, "Yep, pretty much." So I can remember coming home and telling, you know, my other half, you know, there was so much corruption and so much people taking the piss in this country, and there's me trying to live on a straight and narrow, and I'm getting Interviewed under caution. This isn't meant to be kind of the whole down in the mouth, poor me shit. It isn't that at all. What I'm saying is, life can be difficult. It can be very, very hard. But you can't enjoy the good times until you've endured the bad times. Just to top it all off, that period of unemployment, 0 hours contract work, all of that nonsense. It was the same sort of time that I'd found a lump in one of my testicles. So I just felt like the deck was being stacked against me. Now, thankfully the lump turned out to be a benign cyst, and it was, it disappeared. There was the doctor did stuff to it, but it wasn't what I needed at the time. So this is why I fish. I fish because there's times where life is sending you fucking crazy. I fish because I like getting outside in the open air and just relaxing. It doesn't need to be fishing. It could be anything. If you find something that helps you and it raises your mood, gets you outside, puts a smile on your face, then it's worth doing. Well, I think that's time to go home. I've caught a ton of perch. not literally. I've caught a load of little perch. Had a good day. Sadly, no hybrid showed up, which is a bit pants, but I'm sure they will show up eventually.
I'm going to show you a picture of what I caught now. As you can see, it wasn't exactly bagging up, but it was catching fish.